Good evening, I'm Julie Chen.
Wake up, everybody!
But first,
I cannot. On my daughter's birthday. Disgusting. Anybody want cake?
I want to welcome you guys all to my big brother funeral.
Can't find an individual to hate because I hate you all.
Welcome to Not Game, All Personal. Hey, we are a Big Brother podcast here to talk about all things Big Brother, more specifically the events of this past week. I'm Nathan. This is Tony. Tony, you look good tonight. What was the word they used? Shoot, I was gonna. Exquisite.
That was disappointing. Exquisite.
Gosh.
Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been good. I thought it was just a nice compliment, though, the way that you said it. I was like honored that you would say
It's
that to me.
Like my mouth is getting ready to have to say it, and I just blinked.
Just fumbled the bag like nobody's business.
That was funny. I got a good chuckle. Like I
that was
enjoyed
like-
the bit.
It's a good twist on it. Everybody doing it was like, okay, I'm in on this. Like, this is amusing now.
Mm-hmm. It was a great it felt to me like they were halfway mocking that whole concept. You know, like I don't
Mhm.
think they were full. Like it was, it was cute and cheeky and what. But like I think there was something there. Where it's like this is ridiculous. How every week we go in there and tell her how good she looks. Let's just all do it together. And so I thought it was fun.
And then Julie throwing it back at them. Like, that's one of the few times that I've ever genuinely enjoyed a bit of banter that Julie has given us.
Yes, yeah, it was nice. The most surprising part of this episode, I think, was that, I will say, because everything else felt pretty predictable this week.
Yeah.
And
They
well,
didn't
at
even-
least post veto, it felt okay. Here we go. Probably the most predictable outcome all season, I would say.
Absolutely. And we even texted each other. We're like, yeah, they're not even pretending that there's a chance that this will flip. Yes, they showed him pitching like, oh, hey, maybe we should do this or you should do this. No one bought it.
Mhm.
It did sink in. The things he was saying sunk in eventually once he talked to somebody who was willing to listen. But yeah, he was never going to get saved. There wasn't value to really anyone's game to save him, I don't think.
Yeah, and it was fascinating. Because at the beginning of the week, it definitely didn't look like it was a guarantee that he would go. And I think we can eventually talk about Bowie's HOH week and whether or not, this helped her, benefited her. I think we are saying all season, do something. I think we can now ask that question, like, did she do enough? But I think, like, once it got to it, it was like, yeah, it was very obvious. Everyone was on board. And I think the fascinating thing, too, so I did pull out the stats. Like I said, I wish I would have had last week
Yes.
for his wins. Actually, not as many vetoes as I thought. He only won 2, which is a lot. But I think with everything else, it felt like more to me. But as far as his HOHs, he won 50% of the ones that he competed in, which is pretty high.
Yeah.
The only 3 that he competed in and lost were the first 3. The past 6 HOHs, everyone he was in, he won.
That's insane. He just turned it on when he had to. Like, early on, he was like, I don't need to. And then he was on the block twice in a row. He's like, okay, maybe I should actually do something now.
Yeah, and so it pretty much went, he won, couldn't compete the next week. He won, couldn't compete the next week. He won. So you can't really do much more, especially because he didn't even have a chance to compete in this week's veto. So this was a true backdoor. There was nothing more he could have done other than work on a social game early on, I guess, so he doesn't put himself in this position.
I'm going to push back. Was it a true backdoor? Like, it was a true backdoor in that he wasn't able to compete and then he was put up. But, like, that wasn't the intent from the beginning. I feel like that's a necessary... Like, in function, yes, it's a backdoor, but that wasn't... Like, it wasn't a backdoor plan, I guess, is maybe the semantics that I'm fighting for right now.
I guess so. I don't know if I would require that to be a backdoor. So you're saying, like, before the even initial nominations, it needs to be the plan for it to be
Maybe
considered
not.
a backdoor?
Maybe not, because then while there's nominations, they're like, oh, maybe we should backdoor this person. So, you know what? I'll withdraw. now that I've talked it out a little bit, we had some, to and fro.
I mean, I'll give it to you. I'm not gonna argue much, but I consider it a backdoor. I don't know.
I couldn't care less. He says, "Jeez."
So here's my big question this week. How are we going to look at Cameron as a player now that he is gone for good? Do you think he was a good Big Brother player, or do you think he was just really good at competitions?
Here's the thing. I feel like I think my instinct right now is he's good at both. I don't think he ever did anything that disloyal throughout the game. Like, I can't think of any moment where he did anything disloyal, even lied about something that was like major to somebody. And yet he built up this reputation of he cannot be trusted. And I don't know if that was cultivated by somebody else specifically, but like this week, it was crazy because he was saying the right things. He was correct. Jag and Matt were running the game this week. Absolutely. They were in the best position. They were making two sides fight. Everything he said was correct, but everybody refused to listen to him because of who it was coming from. And so it's hard to tell if that's him, something that he did early on that just screwed him for the rest of the game, or if we're not seeing something or we miss something on the feeds that led to this distrust. I think he just became the scapegoat, and it's almost impossible to dig your way out of that. And I think right now my instinct is he was the scapegoat, so no one was going to trust him at any point, no matter what, even if he was best for their game. Because Bowie Jane, he was so good for her game. We'll get into it more in a little bit. Her getting him out was ridiculous, but she was convinced to do it because he is seen as untrustworthy, even though I don't know if that's what he is.
Mm-hmm. I would mostly agree with that because I also cannot pinpoint a specific moment that kind of turned for him where it was like, oh, he did this thing and now he's untrustworthy. I think the biggest thing that I pick up on is I think just his overall like vibe and demeanor in the house, and I think the way he interacts with other people kind of rubbed them the wrong way. And I think that's tough because like, does that mean he's bad at the game? I don't know, because it is a social game, and I think like part of this game is like getting people to like you, and unfortunately no one in the house really got along with him in the sense of like, I don't know, he would just say some things that made some people feel uncomfortable, or it's like, oh, I don't really like the way you're kind of doing this. Maybe in some ways similar to like Heisem, where like Heisem was doing the right things, but it was just like people are not vibing with the way he did. Again, different ways they played the game. I'm not saying like Cameron did what Heisem did, but like I think that was like a similar thing where it was like probably not best to get him out, but like I don't know. And so I think like that's the tough part where I don't think Cameron would have ever had what it takes, because if the house doesn't like you on that level, how do you change that? Or how do you even perceive that like that's what the issue is?
Especially when your back's against the wall constantly. Like when you're constantly battling for yourself. Well, we heard him say the same thing again and again. It's like, I can be your shield, I can be your weapon, like use me. That's not what people are looking for in this game. I don't know if that argument has ever worked that well in Big Brother. I think it's worked in Survivor, keeping somebody in as a shield and as a target. I feel like Big Brother, they don't do that very often. And so him constantly going to that, it's like, yeah, I understand what you're going for because you don't have time. Well, you have time, but it's so difficult to build trust when people already don't like you. A great example is Blue just hates Corey's guts right now, it seems like.
Yeah.
And she just wants him out no matter what. And they're seriously considering like, is it possible for Blue to be able to put that aside? And they think it isn't. And so that's a great example where I don't think Corey did anything to Blue other than get Jared out, but Jared was bad at the game and bad for his game. You have to respect that at some point.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there is part of that for Cameron, I guess, now that I think about it. Like, he did get Izzy out. He did, like, pull the shots on Alicia and even Suri by going for those people. So I guess, like, there is that aspect of it. Like, if you're HOH that many times, chances are you're going to make a couple enemies. And I think, like, where I would more lean to the side is he's not a great Big Brother player, is that like when he had that power, I think it has shown that like nothing came from it because he wasn't able to save himself without winning competitions. And I think like that's you need to do that. You can't just win your way to the end. We know that it's never been done like that. And so he gets voted out unanimously, wins his way back in the game, and the first chance he could possibly be evicted, he gets evicted unanimously. So I think like you had an HOH week where could you have done anything more? I don't know. I'm gonna guess no. There's nothing he could have done, but I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I think it's tough for me to justify him being a great player if twice in one season you get voted out like that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, yeah, when you look at the numbers, you can argue whether the first person evicted from a season is the best player of the season, absolutely. But the fact of the matter is, they were voted out first. The fact of the matter is, he was viewed that way and was voted out twice. So ultimately, like, yeah, there's the arguments, but he got what, 8th place, 9th place? So he's not going to go down as like one of the greatest ever play. He probably won't go down as the greatest in the season. Not even close, I would say. But I think he was a really fun player because he had to play with his back against the wall and just blow stuff up. And so that was just fun to watch.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Izzy going out early on really shook up a lot of things. And it's going to be fascinating. A lot of people are thinking he might be a high contender for America's favorite player. And it was actually fascinating too. I don't know. I suspect it might have been the producers kind of letting him in on it too. But him and America have had a lot of conversations this season about like just the meta game aspect of like the show itself. Like America has pointed out multiple times to pay attention to like the order they call people in to vote because that might tell something about the story they're portraying, which is genius. Cameron's been talking a lot about his edit specifically, which I've never seen a lot of players do, but he is pointing out like what the DR is having him do and say, and he has a pretty good idea of the way he's being perceived kind of as this underdog and how like the aspects of the house that they're pulling out for America to see. And so it came to the point where he was even trying to convince America to have a really good goodbye message for him. He was like, hey, I know I'm getting voted out. Can you just like please like feed into this edit? So he himself is even trying to play for America's favorite player. So it's like this fascinating awareness, like how I'm being perceived on television isn't necessarily what's in the house, but I'm going to run with this because this is my best chance. He's talked so much about wanting to do future seasons and other shows, probably like The Challenge and whatnot. So he's definitely campaigning for that too, which I don't know. It's just I've never seen a player do that this hard, and I don't hate it necessarily. It's just it's new. It's fun.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I feel like this is a tough season to try to go for America's favorite. Because you got Suri, obviously, but I feel like there's a lot of people in the house who are very likable for various reasons.
Yeah.
And so that'll be a tough race to see who ends up winning that. Suri feels like the obvious answer, but I feel like this has not been the most positive showing. I don't think it's been that bad if you're just a TV watcher, but feeds wise, I wouldn't say it's been overly positive.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think on other seasons, there are multiple people on this season. I think they would have, like Jag, for instance. I don't think he's going to win, but on another season, I think he could be very likable to America. Corey, I don't think he's going to win America's favorite player, but on another season, he would be that, like, the nerdy guy in his showmance that everyone loves. And so, which he is, but there's just so many likable people in the house, I think, that I would say my top 3 would probably be Suri, Cameron, and Matt. If I had to predict right now.
Matt, yeah, I think that's fair. I think Corey's the only one and honestly, I think Felicia. Just because I feel like I don't like her at this point. I'm over the whole thing, but like they're milking her on the show. I feel like people love her.
Yeah, she almost fell up the stairs to the HOH room tonight. That was kind of funny.
Oh my gosh. Classic. Anyways,
enough Cameron talk.
Yep. Who should we dig into next?
Let's talk about Bowie. I feel like she is the other. Oh, there's a couple big players this week, but obviously the one with the biggest power of HOH. 2 things. Well, two explanations to last week's HOH. On the live feeds, she was telling Corey in America that the reason she put down such a low answer is because she misheard. And
Oh.
she thought it was how long since Jared left the house and then came back as a zombie, which 27 minutes
Oh.
might apply. And then when she realized that wasn't it, she felt stupid, scrambled, and put a 6 in front of it. Okay? Now, in the DR, something that the house guests do not see, but we do, she claimed that she tried to throw it by putting a low number, and it
Ooh.
didn't work. So
Do we buy it?
I don't know. 'Cause I almost do buy her saying she threw it because, well, okay, two things. Either she did try to throw it and doesn't want to admit that to people in the house, which is fair. You shouldn't say, I didn't want to, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't do that. Or she did misunderstand Julie and just is embarrassed about it and doesn't want to admit it in front of the whole country to see. So, I don't know. One of the two, but those are the explanations that we got.
Well, one's good gameplay and one's just like, oh, yep, that's the Bowie I know and love. So it's really a dealer's choice what you want to believe at that point.
Right. But yeah, so after she won, she wants to target Sari and Felicia. And then, as we know, eventually gets talked into nominating Cam.
It seemed like to me she made that decision for Felicia and Sari. Like that was people were trying to push her the other way, and she's like, "Nope, this is what I want to do."
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
But then she got manipulated into doing other people's dirty work, which I don't enjoy. I assume you're gonna ask my take, so I just dove right in.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah,
I think just like overall, like, do you think this week was like a net positive for her? Does she just walk out the same Bowie Jane? Or do you think this week could end up hurting her?
I want to say it's a net negative because Cameron is a for sure not going to nominate her. I think he was always on her side. But it's not a net negative because I don't think anybody is any closer to nominating her than they were before this.
Right, exactly.
I don't think anybody is more concerned. I don't think anybody's upset that she nominated him. I don't think even Felicia and Sari are mad at her at this point because I think people are just so unbothered and unworried about her she did the easiest thing house-wise, and so I think she's probably just the same.
Yeah.
She maybe gets boosted a little bit because she won an HOH.
Yes, I think I completely agree. And that was what I was walking away with all week. It was like, this is almost doing nothing for her game. She is somehow, and because I get your point where it's like she did back down a little bit with what she originally wanted to do with Sari and Felicia, but I don't even know if that's gonna like hurt her. Because if anything, I think Sari and Felicia now just view themselves as like, oh, we were the pawns. You know, like, are they going to be that bitter? I mean, maybe Felicia is, but Felicia already didn't like her that much. So
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I can't find a big enough reason to think that this week hurt her. And if anything, she got out probably the only person that no one else would be upset goes. I think anyone else goes, you might have, negative ramifications from that. So, like, maybe this was the right move for her to just get out the easy one, have an easy HOH week, and if you can somehow spin that in your final speech, if you make the final two, it could be good. Now, I don't know if she can make it there or if she'll have a good final speech, but, like, to me, if you can spin this, it could work.
Yeah, I think my only argument against that would be oh wow, I completely lost it. I don't have an argument. Final answer. I had something, but I don't remember what it was. Yep, you win
Nathan
that argument.
Wins. Let's go. All right, let's talk about Matt and Jag as a unit, also separately, because they were really the ones that kind of pushed this. They got Cam backdoored. Jag uses the veto after winning the veto. Second veto he won, I think.
I think it might be
third.
three.
I should have pulled this
that's
up.
me guessing. Let me check.
Okay, you check.
Veto.
But
1, 2.
Matt and Jag. And I
that
will
would be
say
3.
too, earlier on in the week when she eventually did go with Sari and Felicia, it was also Matt and Jag kind of pushing for like other people too. You know, like they're pushing for Cam at first, also throwing out Corey in America. Corey in America were throwing out like Blue. You know, so all that to say, I think that was another positive for Bowie that she kind of got a neutral target out that everyone agreed on. But Jag and Matt, it's a strong duo, very strong.
It's a strong duo, man. They have just like it's what we've been waiting for all season, I think, from these guys. Like all season we've been like, oh, they're having conversations, oh, they know that this is happening, and now they're finally like grabbing control of the game and trying to drive it and run it to the end. Which honestly, waiting till this point to really grab a hold and try to ride to the end, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still curious, like where I stand on them as individual players, but together they're doing quite well so far, and I think they have different connections that are very, very valuable. Like it's just a very diverse duo. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. What do you think?
I like it. I think this week definitely exposed them a little bit more than usual as far as like they are, I think, more on people's radar than ever. We saw that a lot in tonight's episode too. So I think that's the one thing where I wouldn't be surprised if the right things fall into place, one of them gets nominated this week.
Yeah.
So I think last week I was much more high and like, wow, they're really doing well here. And I mean, kudos to Cam because that was kind of his mission.
Yeah.
It was like, let me tank their game. And so I think I'm less confident than ever that like both of them are going to make it far. I think if one of them goes, the other one will probably do quite well. But also, who else is going to win competitions in this house at this point? Like, I think they're sitting pretty safe for that reason alone.
Yeah, they're gonna run it from here, man. They're gonna run it for sure. I find it interesting because seeing these two and seeing them being in such a strong spot in the game. I look at Jag, and specifically Jag, because he got unanimously voted out. I think it was like 10-0 when he got voted out. He got saved by Matt, which is huge, but he did get voted out. So what has changed from that early game Jag, who felt like he was just hanging out, wasn't actually doing anything, just kind of there for the ride, to now? And I feel like now he actually has a ride or die where they like fully trust each other and they're 100% together. And what I want to compare it to is what's a good duo? I would go JT and Fishback from Survivor, where JT, when you see him play later on, it's just not the same. Like he's just not the same player. He's not as good because he's on his own and he doesn't have that one person that he can rely on. I almost wonder if those two are kind of doing that for each other, where they're like filling in the gaps for each other to make it so that they know what they're doing and they have a cohesive way to go about it. And when they're on their own, they're just not, like, they multiply each other, not just add together. Like they multiply each other's skills and abilities. Yeah. And by themselves, they just did not seem effective. So it's a really cool pairing to see come together because of how just how much power they've had in this past 2 weeks.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I think that is exactly the reason why Jag's game has improved so much, is because I think he had those people he could have trusted, but for whatever reason he just didn't. You know, like I think earlier on there was a point where like America did sincerely trust him, Blue sincerely trusted him. He just didn't, and so he was the one spilling, and you know, then Flaky, and now people don't. But like because now he has that person, I think you're right. Like he is now full in. Like I mean, this is peak Jag. I think like this is the best we've ever seen him.
Absolutely.
And again, does that make him more of a target? Yes, but let's not forget he was already voted out. There was a couple weeks where he was the house pawn for like 2-3 weeks in a row. They're like, well, let's just put Jag up next to them. So it's not like he wasn't a target before. It's just at least now he has a decent game to go with whatever target he currently has. So yeah, I agree with that. For Matt, I really feel good about. I think he is probably the person I'm looking at, like at this list, and the person I think is in the best position. Maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like of the two of them, Jag would even go before Matt.
Yep, absolutely.
I just think Matt's connections when it comes to, well, I mean, mostly Suri. Like they still have something there. It's not like they're directly working with each other anymore, but like they have that bond, and I think that is going to help him later on. So I don't know. There's not really much to say new from this week other than like he's still just in a great position.
Yeah, Matt, and then the little bit that they had tonight about how hard it is when people are whispering and just how hard it's been in the house for him in general. That legitimately made me like tear up. Like I was like, "Oh, Matt!" Like once he started crying, like it was tough to watch because I love the dude. Like he's just so likable. Everybody around him enjoys being around him, and he has a head for the game. Like he knows what's going on. He knows the strategy. He knows what he should be doing. Even things like going to Suri and teaming up with Suri. Incredible gameplay. These past couple weeks I think have been really, really good. And those two know when to be like, all right, Matt, you go talk to this person because you'll convince them, or Jag, you go talk to this person because they trust you more. Like that understanding has just been so helpful for the two of them. So I think Matt is probably in one of the best spots in the game at this point because Jag will always go before him. I'm confident in that. So yeah,
I agree with that.
I would be happy with a Matt win. Let me just say it that way. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I think out of everyone in the house, that would be one of the most satisfying.
And also, he beats Jag if they make it. I have no doubt that he beats Jag.
I would think so too. Yes. So
because there's always that nagging, like I was voted out, like I was voted out already for Jag, and Matt doesn't have that, and I think has better relationships with everyone in the house.
Yeah, completely.
Except maybe Blue.
You want to talk about Blue?
I don't know that I have much to say about her.
I don't have anything to say about Blue. What is she doing?
No, she's just kind of there. And like I said, this is not a game that you can just have these hatred of people and just never consider believing them or going with them. Because Cameron told her something. She didn't believe it at all. But then when Suri told her, she's like, oh, this is true. It's the same information.
Yeah.
The logic of it still makes sense if you just pay attention to what's happening in the house. But it was just the person it was coming from. She decided that it wasn't true.
Right.
And so, yeah, Blue is the same as Bowie Jane to me at this point. I just don't think she's going to do anything meaningful with any of the information she has.
That is disrespectful to Bowie Jane. Okay.
It might be. But she's not about to turn on Suri. Her and Suri have gotten kind of close, I think. Like, they talk a lot. And I don't think she's going to turn on Suri. That's the only information she has to spend.
Okay. Blue, not in the same conversation. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like they are the same. Okay.
Okay, you're right. Bowie Jane did win an HOH and got out the biggest challenge threat in the season.
Looks like Dan Giesling.
That's
okay.
Pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive to get out such a massive threat. So I would put Bowie Jane a couple steps above Blue. Thanks for correcting me, Nathan.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. Other people you don't like, Felicia. Anything more about her other than she got the veto used on her? Gotta say, I mean, she gets on the block and off it quite often.
There is some deserved credit there. The only reason they took her off is because they knew that she would be more likely to leave than Suri next to Cameron. Mm-hmm. And so it was because she was more likely to get voted out that she got saved.
Hey,
and so,
whatever works. You know, it's like, yeah. I mean, we talked about it last week, her blowing up on Corey and kind of just being outspoken. Like, it hasn't hurt her game. Like, the things she is, like...
And it's hurt his.
She is not a bigger target because of anything she's doing. At best... or I should say at worst, she's just neutral and the same amount of target. At best, I think it's like no one is really looking at her anymore.
No, but that's... I hate crediting people for being bad or like not a threat. Crediting that as like good gameplay.
Sure.
Because because there's some people where it's intentional. It's like they play themselves down so much, they throw competitions, whatever, to make themselves a non-threat.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely think that Felicia has tried in every competition that she's done this season. And she's never won. No, she's won a couple, but they're just not worried about it because it's mostly the crapshoots that she wins. Same with Suri. I don't know, yeah. But she is decent socially. Strategically, she's not too bad. She's pretty vindictive, which isn't good. In my opinion, but she deserves.
I just think we're at that point in the game where we've moved past a lot of like the floater type people you want out, where now we're on to the bigger threats. So that's why we're going after Cam. That's why people are talking about Matt and Jag. That's why Corey in America. That's like, these are the names that are being thrown out. Felicia is not going to be a threat to get out until probably like 5 at this point. So I don't know. Like, I don't think anyone will be putting her up this week. And if they do, it's just going to be a pawn situation. Like, I don't think she's going to be the main target. So there's that.
I don't know. I could see maybe like Jagger and Matt taking that shot. Because I think they're so worried about not wanting to take the first shot between Corey and Blue. They want them to shoot at each other. So I wonder if they would take the easy route and go for Suri and Felicia.
Okay, that's fair. Potentially. We'll check back. One of us will be right.
Dibs.
Corey in America.
I call dibs.
Pretty standard week for them.
Yeah, they're kind of in the same boat with Cameron. I think people are pretending more to be in an alliance with them, but for some reason they've just, well, actually, I think there's reason with them. People don't want to work with them and people don't trust what they're saying necessarily. It's just a tough spot to be in. I would be surprised if both of them make it to the end. It wouldn't surprise me if one of them made it to the end.
Yes. I think it's similar to like the Matt and Jack situation, where if one of them goes, what's the point of directly targeting the other one the next week? Like, you might as well let it breathe a bit because they're going to be that much less of a threat.
America Matt final 2?
I could see that. Like, I could very much see that.
I'd be in on that for sure.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. It is like a little disappointing because I do feel like Corey specifically has kind of like lost some of his edge as far as like playing the game. And it might be just because the place they're at. And I would say like I would also say like Suri and maybe a couple others, like maybe it was just this week, but like the game talk and the strategizing has like really taken a backseat to just living in the house. And so I do worry with him. Like, is he just getting too comfortable about like, here's my showmance, I'm sitting pretty, and if I don't, whatever happens, happens. You know, like I kind of want to see him be a little more proactive, like we saw a couple weeks ago. Which, you know, maybe that's not best for his game. Maybe he's purposely trying to sit back, but I definitely miss like him at his peak.
Yeah. I was gonna say I think it's definitely with Suri specifically, I know it's strategic. And I think with him as well, it's like a strategic, I'm gonna step back and not seem like I'm a part of the arguments. I'm not a part of the game. Like, I'm not playing super hard. I'm not trying to twist, like flip votes and stuff like that. Nope, I'm just chilling. I'm hanging out. I'm not a threat right now. Worked really well for Suri so far. It's not working for him. He's still people's focus quite a bit.
Right.
But that's what you have to do. I feel like you can't just be all guns blazing. Is that a thing? Yep, sure. You can't just be like going for it. You know what I mean? You have to take that step back and kind of try to lower that target level as much as you can.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm at with it.
So, transitioning to Suri, you do think it's working for her?
Oh yeah, I think she uses the fact that she's bad at competitions for people to just not worry about her at all. But yeah, she doesn't seem like she's a target for anyone at all. She did exactly what she needed to. She was in control for the first chunk of the game, and that worked for her. She lost the two people she was closest to, and then she sunk back into the background because she's no longer a threat because she doesn't have anyone anymore. Like, that is exactly what you want in that situation. I think it was best for her to lose those people because entering this point of the game, she's not a threat. I think if they had stayed in control, this is the stage of the game that she gets voted out. But the fact that she lost the people who she was closest to, she's able to coast for a little bit longer.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
It's crazy that Matt wants her in the final 3. That's insane to me. Did you see that at all?
Yeah, I think I buy it if you're just really banking on her not winning. You know, like I could see that, but it is tough because I know like Matt and Jack did specifically form a final 3 with her and also a final 3 with Bowie. And the two of them are like joking about like, oh, we'll have to just wait and see which one is the real one, and kind of so.
Yeah.
I like the way they played like that, but yeah, it's fascinating with Suri because like a week ago, I would have still been like, oh wow, she's not in a great position, but like she's utilizing the position she's in of having like almost no one. And
Mhm.
I do kind of want to see that other multiverse where she doesn't target the professors immediately.
Mhm.
Because like let's be honest, Heisem would have wrote it out, you know? Like I
Oh,
want to see
absolutely.
where Cam doesn't turn on them because of red and therefore is he still in the game? Like like all these things,
Mhm.
I think like the fact that she's alone, I would say is largely to her own doing because like she made all these moves early on, but it's not working for her yet. So it's like, well, if she ends up going far and even potentially winning the game, do we have to credit those as like being the correct moves? Maybe. I don't know. Because right now I'm still like, oh, was that the best decision? Well, it's not the wrong one yet.
Yeah, yeah, it's so hard to judge those moves by because it can still be a bad move and benefit you tremendously unintentionally. I would still consider that
Yeah.
a bad move or an incorrect move, even though you got like you lucked into it. That's just
Mm-hmm.
how it works. I think it
Yeah.
was so cool to see as well this week the fact that you saw Cameron go to several different people trying to talk to them about the game and blow up Jag and Matt's spot and be like, these guys are the targets. The only person that listened to him was Suri because she heard what he was saying and thought that makes a lot of sense. Like that logic is sound. And I see hints of that in the game in general. And then she gets the ball rolling and starts talking. Well, he did plant the seed in Corey because Corey did bring it up and was thinking about it a little bit. But she talked to Blue about it. Like she took that and ran. I think it's fascinating to see how damaging it can be to be in Blue's position and completely ignore something like that. And then you just completely ignore a big part of the game that's happening. Whereas Suri understands that he's fighting for himself, takes everything that he says with a grain of salt, but also is like, no, that makes sense and that matters. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to use it for myself because I genuinely think if Felicia was on the block and Suri wasn't, she might have maybe tried to do something just because of that conversation with Cameron. I think it's a possibility. I think it genuinely
Sure.
is. But
Yeah.
he was kind of screwed with the fact that she was the other person on the block, so she was never going to try to save him. But she used that information for herself.
I also wonder if there's something to her being on the block of being the reason that she did listen to him. In the sense
Yeah,
of like,
he
okay,
has no reason to lie to me.
he's not campaigning. This is not a campaign. I can't,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, so why is he telling me information that could help me, I guess? Like,
Yeah,
I think there might be something there. But you're right. Like, Corey did eventually, like, latch on. So, I don't know. Chaos Cam.
Chaos Cam. That's what they
Even with the
call him.
fight.
Heck yeah,
uh, should we talk about Zingbot this week? It was a big week.
it was. I
The OTEV and Zingbot mashup collab.
weird combo to put them
People been
together.
asking, when are these two
Have
gonna
they
link
really?
up? I don't know.
I hope not.
Just makes sense.
Yeah, Zingbot was there. I thought the song about Corey was very funny. I only heard
That
bits
was
and pieces
good.
of the rest of them. That was good though. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that.
Cerise was really good.
Oh, I missed it then.
Cerise, what was the beginning of it? Oh shoot. Well, it talked about like her losing her allies, and now she's like all alone on an island. Essentially, that was kind of like the
Oh,
zing.
okay,
So that
okay,
was pretty
okay.
funny. Yeah.
Yep.
You didn't hear the rest of them? They're kind of
I was
lame
working,
actually.
I think, when it was happening, honestly.
Jags was a play on Jaguar, like the car, and then
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, but actually, you're a Lamborghini." So that was the extent.
Oh, that's sick.
They actually leaked this week, some of the rough drafts from some of them. And I actually
Okay.
got. You want me to read you some of them?
Absolutely.
Okay, so these are some rough drafts. Okay, written by whoever writes in the producers. Okay, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Bowie Jane. Okay, I'm not gonna do the voice or anything. This is about Bowie Jane. Said you are a
Can you please do the voice?
35-year-old DJ. 35-year-old DJ. You of all people should have known that when you heard drop the beat, it didn't mean drop and be beat. at the wall competition.
Yeah.
Pretty good, huh? You wanna let's you wanna listen to blues? Blues, I kind of like
Yep.
blues. Okay, again, this is written by the producers. I just got inside access to it. For blue, it said it feels like most of your game it was dedicated to Jared. Blue, chasing after the son of a survivor. Again, I don't know why they wrote this because they shouldn't tell the house guests that, but they did. Blue,
Probably thought it was funny.
chasing after the son of a survivor. Who do you think you are? Tessera from Avatar? That was the girl who was the love interest of the son of Jake Sully. Jake Sully
Oh.
thinks about, Yeah, again, they probably needed to workshop that one a little more, but it's pretty good, huh? All right, we got a couple more. Okay, so
that was nothing for me.
this one was Cerise. Okay.
Okay, I'm in.
Well,
I'm in.
Jake Sully's the survivor. You get it? Like, and then
Yep.
the blue
Is he?
is chasing after.
Oh.
It's good. Okay, I promise. Okay, but this one, I don't know why they didn't air this one. This one's great. Cerise, some call you the best to never win Survivor. Are you also trying to compete for the best to never win Big Brother? Because you can't win a single competition. Even your son Justin managed to do that this week. You get it?
No.
Her son Justin managed to win this week, but she can't. Justin Fields?
Oh.
Yeah, okay.
Did you write that? I think you wrote that.
No. I'm telling you, these are all leaked, okay? This was leaked online. These were the rough drafts of the zings, okay? This one
really
was
bad.
this was for Felicia, okay? Felicia, some people think you are related to Denzel Washington. Again, they probably shouldn't be giving inside info like that, but they did. It also appears that you are using some of his films as inspiration for your game. Safe House? More like Safe in the House. That's a Denzel film.
Nice.
Book of Eli? Only if Eli is short for eliminating other players.
Heyo.
Now, if you could only mimic the equalizer because your answer to last week's HOH did not add up.
Heyo.
Okay, good, right?
That one's great.
Should I keep going? I mean, might as well.
No, I think you should not.
All right, America, for someone named after this country, didn't anyone tell you that the USA usually is only attracted to old men?
Jeez.
Sorry, that's a little political for the last couple presidents.
Yep.
But not too political because Cam, you sure do win a lot. You have also been caught occasionally pursuing America despite her not always pursuing you back, and you even lost the popular vote twice. Oh, wait. I was accidentally reading the bio of Donald Trump.
Heyo.
Pretty good, huh?
So good.
Yeah, I mean, those were just some ones that, were leaked, some of the rough drafts. I don't know. Like, I think they could have used one or two of them at least.
I'm really glad we went through those.
Is that a good bit?
That was a really good bit. You nailed that.
That was the exact reaction I wanted for every single
All
one.
right, good. I'm glad I lived up to
All
it.
right. Anything else on Big Brother this week?
Yeah, I saw a tweet that this week, I don't know if this was known information or if Corey just mentioned it, but I just saw a tweet that said Corey pointed out that because of the Nether region on the first night, he didn't know what Jag's profession was, and it took him 7 days to realize that Matt was deaf. And he also didn't know Bowie's name for a week.
He just never
Didn't
asked.
know her name.
He just skipped all that.
Just didn't know how to ask.
Did they actually introduce everyone without him? That's crazy, right?
Yeah, they did the whole thing, but he wasn't in there. I'm pretty sure. Or at least they did the first little bit, so maybe he missed those couple people.
I forget that that was discussed a lot, oh man, poor Corey, this is so unfair, he's gonna miss out, and it wound up being nothing. He was gone for 30 minutes. The live feeds turned on that night and he was there and everyone's like, oh, what? He's just in the house. The Nether region
Weird.
means nothing and we're not gonna bring it back at all this season. Okay.
More like the nothing region.
Okay, let's save that for the professional Big Brother writers, okay?
All right, my bad.
All right, you ready to wrap this up?
I am.
All right, that's all. Stay tuned. We don't have an HOH. We won't, right? Probably for a while. I was gonna go check,
No,
but I'm like,
I'm
it's
sure.
not even worth it. Okay, so for more episodes, visit notgameallpersonal.com. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts, really. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, at NGAPPod. That is at NGAPPod. And look out for our coverage of Survivor, which is still very much going strong. I'm Nathan. This is Tony, and we will see you next week.
Remember to love one another.